I think it's in our nature to adapt to our surroundings. What was once new and exciting can quickly become commonplace and even boring. And even the most scenic places eventually lose some of their magic. That's why ultimately everyone loves to travel. And why I believe traveling is a great way for all creatives to gather fresh and exciting impressions so we can come up with new ideas again. Yet for most of us, going on a trip is the exception rather than the rule. So how can we approach photography in our everyday life? How can we find inspiration and excitement in a place we know all too well and that no longer seems to offer new experiences? How can we shoot the mundane? In this video, I want to share 3 tips that will help you get new ideas to shoot and that will shine a new light on your well-known spots. When visiting a place for the first time or while traveling, I often find it easier to spot photo opportunities and come up with compositions. The sense of newness gives your photography a clear direction. You can visit all the classic spots, wander through unknown alleys, and experience everything for the first time. And as a result, you experiment more, shoot more, and generally capture images that feel fresh and exciting. However, once you become familiar with a place and return there repeatedly, that initial spark will fade. It quickly feels like you've taken all the classic shots and explored every top spot, making it hard to spot new angles and compositions. You might even end up wandering the streets thinking that there's nothing left to photograph. Believe me, I know that feeling all too well. While Vienna is an amazing city that attracts people from all over the world, I've lived here my whole life and visited most areas countless times. But there's a strategy I use to stay motivated and continue spotting new images every time I head out. And that's simply focusing on one specific element for each outing. Set yourself some boundaries or a clear goal for your shoot. This will give you back the focus you need to uncover new scenes and subjects in familiar spots. For example, you might choose to shoot with a completely different focal length than you're used to and see how that changes your perspective on finding new subjects. Alternatively, if you normally shoot during the day, try visiting your regular spots at night and observe how the conditions and photo opportunities change. And if you're typically shooting alone, try teaming up with friends or joining a photography group to see how others approach shooting the same location. The possibilities here are truly endless, but the underlying idea is simple. Give yourself a new perspective on a place you already know and open your eyes to the details and shots that you can still discover. For instance, over the past few weeks, I've picked up the habit of shooting tables in front of restaurants and cafes around the city, simply because I was drawn to the way the light hits them or their unique color palettes. While none of these images is groundbreaking on its own, together they form a set that I really like. More importantly, this gives my photography a clear focus. I know exactly where to go and what to look for the next time I'm out shooting and want to add another image to that set. So if you feel that you've captured everything in the places you know, try mixing things up. Set yourself a clear goal and some creative boundaries and you'll be surprised by the new shots you can discover in even the most familiar spots. I really enjoy creating sets from all my travels, trying to capture a range of images that represent each location. However, when traveling, you're always under time constraints. There are always places you can't visit, local traditions that you miss, or conditions that just aren't right for the perfect shot. In your own city, however, you don't have those restrictions. You have the freedom to revisit a specific area as many times as you want and to capture all the main spots in detail. And you can really start to put together a unique portfolio. However, I never managed to create a set that truly represents Vienna. But last autumn, I started putting together images to tell the story of this city. This project has given me new motivation to shoot, prompting me to revisit familiar places and even explore some new ones. I'm still in the early stages of this project, but over the past few months, I've gathered images I'm really happy with. And I think my set set from Vienna is the best one I've put together so far. I've noticed that my images here feel more intimate, featuring more people and everyday moments, unlike my travel sets that often focus more on architecture and landscapes. My goal with this project is simple: to create a set that captures the life, architecture and people of Vienna. I hope this turns into a long-term project, maybe even a book or a scene someday. There's no better place for such a project than my hometown, and honestly, no better person to do it than someone who lives here. So my message here is to use your local advantage and start a project only you can do. Maybe you set yourself the goal of photographing every church in your city, or you want to capture your favorite tourist spot in different seasons, or even just document your public transport system. It's really up to you. Just pick something that requires your unique local knowledge, something you can always add new images to and that excites you every time you go out to expand your set. And finally, my last tip is to always be on the lookout for new photo opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, it's usually much easier to shoot in new locations or under new conditions. And even if you think you've seen it all and done it all, chances are you haven't. And the obvious approach is to explore your city like a tourist. Visit the main attractions, take a tour and follow the typical tourist route. There will always be a few firsts waiting for you because as locals we often skip the touristy stuff. And even if you've already done that, there's still something new to discover. Look for markets, seasonal events or big parades. These are all great opportunities to get fresh impressions and usually make for unique photos. For example, one of my favorite spots in Vienna to shoot is Naschmarkt, a big market area in the city center. And on Saturdays there's also a big flea market where people sell all sorts of things, drawing hundreds of visitors every week. But for some reason I never really had it on my radar and I never had the opportunity to shoot there. So 3 weeks ago I decided to check it out for the first time and it really was amazing. I immediately fell into a flow kind of state and captured so many images I really love. So even if you feel like you've seen it all, remember there's always something new waiting to be discovered in your city. That's it for this video. Let me know if you have any tips on shooting your everyday life or how you keep yourself motivated when photographing in your city. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.